Hello and welcome to Furious Driving, and this is my first ever drive in a Kia EV3, one of the new range of small compact EVs, which I'm rather excited to see. Now this is actually one of the highest spec ones you can get. It's the GT line, and wow, that's swift. So obviously I'm being rather biased by the fact that this has got every single toy and gadget you can hope for fitted to this particular car. However, it does give us a good idea of how the car fits together and how it rides and what it might be like to live with. Now, for a long while I've kind of felt that EVs are very much going in the wrong direction because they're all big, expensive £100,000 cars, and if you want EVs to become more mainstream, there need to be more cheap cars. So things like the Dacia Spring and the MGs and now the BYD Surf are kind of the cars that need to be becoming predominant. So there need to be more small, compact and affordable cars. This in the GT line trim is kind of at the premium end of the compact though. Bear in mind at this particular trim level it will set you back over £40,000. So at that price and at this size, it's more of like a mini Countryman EV kind of arrival rather than a Dacia Spring kind of arrival. But what does it do well and what does it do bad? Okay, first of all, here are some stats. Now depending what trim level you go for, prices start for the EV3 at £33,005 RRP on the road, stretching all the way up to a fully loaded GT line at £43,005. The car we're in at the moment though is as good as it gets with all the toys, all the features and all the nice surfaces. In addition to the trim levels, there are two sizes of battery. You can either have a 58.3 kilowatt hour or an 81.4 kilowatt hour, giving a range of either 270 or 375 miles maximum, thanks to the car's 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour economy. That smaller range battery is only available on the entry-level Air, but you can upgrade that to the 81 kilowatt hour battery for another £3,000. The higher spec GT line and GT line S's both only come with the 81 kilowatt hour battery. The performance is marginally better for the smaller battery with a tiny bit less weight, 0 to 60, 7.5 seconds, 7.7 with the bigger battery, top speed 105 on both. So yeah, all in all, very impressive indeed. And bear in mind, this is only a compact car. It's in a similar kind of category of ICE car as a Ford Puma. So what do they do well and what don't they do well? Well, things that I like over the Mini is that it hasn't dumped everything onto the touchscreen. I loathe touchscreens for everything, but down here we've got our ventilation controls, we've got our mode, we've got radio controls here, and we've got more controls here for the stuff on the screen. It's not all on the touchscreen, which is fantastic, and we've got more control. I'm nowhere near the white line. And we've got more controls here on the steering wheel. Being a new car, it does have the various... I do rather like the interior. We've got this big T-shelf area under the windscreen with incorporated loudspeakers coming closer and separated by a nice little line of LED ambient light. Shush. Then we've got this denim material across the front of the dashboard and onto the doors, just on the corners here, giving you a little tactile feel, which is very nice and brings it down to earth, makes it a nice place to be. And then in slight contrast to the fabric, we've got this shiny silvery plastic underneath. Altogether it works really rather nicely. The designers have done a good job here. Why are you doing stuff? And the interior's overall design aesthetic is very similar and works well with the exterior design aesthetic, which is a very much 1980s prop from Tron. And if you've watched the movie Tron, you'll know exactly what I mean. The seat posts do have an element of the original BMW i3, but I think more 1980s Tron. And I'm very much here for that. I love that kind of 80s retro throwback with a very heavy touch of modernism on top. So the whole lot looks fantastic, I do think. For a relatively small car, the ride is very good. It glides over the bumps, I guess partly due to the weight of the battery, of course. Steering is quite light and it's very sharp indeed. The brakes are good. The acceleration is incredible, again, for a small car. And the range, I can't get over the range of this thing. It's telling me right now that my range is 254 miles, but my max possible, presumably if I slowed down and went into an eco mode or something, would be 361, which is mind-boggling. There is a lot of information. I've got my speed, my tyre pressures, my range on here. I've got a head-up display just there. I've got the posted speed limit on both of those things, and of course because it's a new car it is binging all the time to tell me what the actual speed limit is and whether I'm going near it or not, which is slightly annoying, but there's not really much you can do about it with new cars. And although we do have our controls for the ventilation down here, the actual readout of what it was all doing is up here on the screen in the centre, and the sat nav over on the left. Here we go. That is rapid. In the name of science, I have briefly brushed over the posted speed limit to see what it does, and it just beeps a little tiny bit. It's not too intrusive. The lane keep assist is a little bit annoying, and it does wobble the steering wheel in a quite irritating manner, which I really wish it wouldn't. And I always think I've turned that off on Kias, and I never quite have. The seats are covered in a smooth perforated vinyl, and they're firm but supportive and quite comfortable. In the back it looks like it's going to be a little bit claustrophobic with the heavy roofline, but actually it doesn't feel too bad at all despite the heavily tinted windows. You've actually got a lot of legroom and a lot of footroom. It works very well indeed as it goes, and you've even got heated seats in the back, which it feels like an extreme extravagant luxury, but in reality it's a good way of making the battery go further by heating the person, not the entire cabin. In the back we've got a relatively good sized boot, and it's one of those split level things so you can slide the boot floor down to have either a concealed area or a big load space area, and you can put 60 kilos on that raised floor if you so desire. In the front the storage is not amazing, it has to be said. Now, gear selection is done by the now fairly common EV thing of rotating the end of a big stalk down by the steering wheel, and the on-off button is also hidden down there. It's actually completely hidden by the steering wheel when you first get in certain positions, so a little confusing for your first drive. The steering wheel is very adjustable. You've got adjustable regen on your flappy paddles, and when it comes to manoeuvring, as well as the big glass area at the front, big mirrors, you've also got very handy front and rear manoeuvring cameras. This thing actually rides and handles really very well indeed. I mean, obviously this GT line is always going to have a fair bit of poke and a fair bit of ability, but this is actually an awful lot of fun. This does feel taller in the driving seat than I was expecting. It looks like it's going to be more of a regular car kind of equivalent, but it does have more of a crossover, small SUV slight feel to it, thanks to the ride height, I guess because the battery is under the floor. But given that height, it does actually corner incredibly well, and it rides so very well indeed. There's an awful lot to like about this car. I can see why this car got What Car of the Year 2025. The steering wheel, this kind of quartic thing, which everyone mocked so hard back in the Allegro, fits the styling of this thing very well. Two-tone leather, or leatherette, squishy, feels nice, loads of visibility, lots of headroom, lots of room everywhere really. Cup holders, inductive phone charging, bottle holder and big door pockets, heated and cooled seats. There's literally everything you can think of in this car. They've not left anything off the options list, and this particular one seems to have all of them. Now, while I was very taken with the top spec GT line, in the interest of balance I thought I'd better take a more basic model out as well. That smaller range battery is only available on the entry level Air, but you can upgrade that to the 81 kWh battery for another £3,000. The higher spec GT line and GT line S's both only come with the 81 kWh battery. But not spending that extra £7,000 to £10,000 means you miss out on a few things around the car. You don't get the tinted windows, you don't get the sunroof, you don't get the Matrix headlights, and you're downgraded to 17-inch rather than 19-inch wheels, although being less puncher prone and smoother riding, some people may prefer that. Also, you have to manually push your door handles open like a caveman instead of the automatic pop-out ones you get on the bigger cars. You don't get the power tailgate, which I'm quite happy with. I don't like power tailgates. You don't get the 360-degree top-down parking view, or blind spot detection, or the head-up display. And I'm told there's a heat pump which you don't get in the Air, which can be a big difference in this wintertime. However, if you're being budget conscious or are buying a car on a company car or lease with a limit, there's nothing wrong with the Air at all. Most people in fact would be very happy with the car and happy with a slightly smaller payment. Now, the problem with a lot of legacy manufacturers is they've moved into EV territory and they've really just played on their old strengths, their old reputations, and just rehashed old ideas. I'm looking at Mini in particular here because they've basically made a new Mini which is electric, but it's still the same retro themes as it always has been, and I'm a fan of that, don't get me wrong. But then you get manufacturers like Kia who've taken their EV range and done something completely different. Mercedes did something similar with the EQ range, and they made all of their EV cars very jelly mould and smooth and very modern. Kia have done something very similar, but with a very angular 80s Tron big track kind of a look, which I have to say I really do enjoy. Of course, I have to say, as a caveat to every new car I ever do drive, I absolutely hate the lane keep assist, the speed traffic assist thing, all the other little insisting things that they have to have, which are the law these days. It's not the manufacturer's fault, but they have to have them. It is very, very annoying. 41 miles an hour in a 40. Come on. I know it's the law, no one likes it. So would I recommend the EV3 as a compact premium EV solution? And well, the answer, if you've got the budget for it, I would definitely say yes. If I was choosing between this and the Mini, I would go for this car actually. It's more roomy inside, you've not got that big touchscreen with no physical controls, the range is incredible, and the ride is good as well, and it can pedal through a corner quite nicely also. So if I was in the market for a car of this class, this would be very high on my list. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this look around the Kia EV3 GT line. If you have, please as always hit like and subscribe, and join us again next time driving something completely different.